Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Brandon Lester Fishing. I know it's been a couple weeks, man. It's been back-to-back tournaments, the Bassmaster Classic. I actually just got back from Santee Cooper last night about midnight, but want to catch you guys up to speed. I got a lot of cool footage. I've been running a GoPro at every one of these tournaments. And what I plan to do from here going forward is to do a recap of each tournament like I've been doing, but I'm also going to throw in some of that GoPro footage that I have from each tournament. That way you'll kind of get to see, I can tell you about how I'm fishing all day long, but until you see it with your own eyes, I think it really kind of brings it all together. So that's the plan going forward. Like I said, going to do the recap, going to throw in some fish catches. So this is the recap for the first stop of the Bassmaster Elite Series of the year on the St. Johns River down in Florida. Now, just to set this one up a little bit, this is my 9th year fishing the Elite Series and probably the 4th or 5th, probably at least the 5th time that we've started out the year, or I've fished a tournament on the St. Johns River. It's a very frequent stop for the Bassmaster Elite Series for good reason. Awesome crowds, awesome fishing. It's just a fishing community. It's a really, really cool place. It's usually great weather, and it's a great place to kick off the season. Really a dynamic fishery. It's a tidal fishery. We take off from Palatka, Florida, and like I said, it's on the St. Johns River, but there's Crescent Lake, there's Lake George, down below going south, there's Lake Dexter, Lake Woodruff, a couple other lakes down there that you can run to, so you can make long runs, you can stay close by. And it's been won from several different parts of the river. It's hard when you're fishing rivers. It's not like you go back to the same places every single year and catch them. A lot of people think that, but they're like, man, you've been there 5 or 6 times. You got to have some really good places. But very rarely do I get to go back to the same places every year and catch them from the same areas, because things just change, man. The grass changes, the habitat changes, the fish migrate from area to area. So going into this one, I kind of try to always start this practice for the St. Johns River with a fresh mind, an open mind. And it was much like the Kissimmee Chain Open. We had a big cold front hit. I was actually going to this tournament straight from winning that Kissimmee Chain Open. So I had a little momentum going, had a little feel for what kind of phase the fish are in. St. Johns River is pretty close by geographically. It's only about 2 hours away from the Kissimmee Chain. So I felt like those fish had already done probably one wave of spawning, and we were kind of in between phases. But there was a warming trend coming again, so I thought there would be some fish pulling up during this tournament. Come to find out there was. The way I caught them for the most part, you know, during practice, I looked at a lot of different areas. I covered a ton of water. And the best way I could find to get bit was just old school Florida fishing, man. Just getting in an area, a couple of canals where I actually had caught a few fish in the past. Just getting in there, putting your head down, and just kind of grinding around to get a bite, man. Just flipping around, just real slow. You know, that's what it's all about. I've said it before. In the state of Florida, man, that's what it's all about, is finding you an area, kind of hunkering down, picking it apart piece by piece. I was flipping mostly pads, is what I was doing at the St. Johns River. And then on the 3rd day, I actually mixed in some sight fishing. The first 2 days, I pretty much caught all my fish just fishing for them. You know, just fishing what was in front of me, skipping a worm around docks, pitching pads, stuff like that. The 3rd day, I finally found some fish. It got really hot on that 3rd day. I finally found some fish that were pulling up and locking on beds. And I was able to catch a few sight fishing. And actually I had something happen, so I'm fixing to roll. Before we go any further, I'm gonna go ahead and roll some of the footage so you guys can see a few of the catches, my fish catches from this event. And I had something happen on the 3rd day of the tournament that was really interesting. And I wanted to talk about it with you guys because it's something that happens during tournament fishing. And it was pretty cool, but it cost me making a top 10. So the 3rd day, I found a really big fish locked on a bed. Great big female. She was way up and under a little boat dock. I was having to skip way back in there. So I set up on this fish. I fished for her for probably a total of 45 minutes. All of a sudden, my line starts swimming out toward deep water. I set the hook. I get that fish up to the boat, and I notice immediately my first thought was that I had accidentally snagged the fish. Per our bass rules, the bass rule says that when you close the mouth on that fish, the hook point has to enter on the inside of the mouth. The rule technically does not say that the line has to enter through the mouth. It just says that the hook point has to enter inside the mouth. And you guys will obviously see in this video that that did happen. But what happened and what was so crazy, this was a freak thing and it'll probably never happen again in a million years. I've never heard of it happening. The fish actually sucked my bait up through her gills. And you guys will see in the video, I'm fixing to roll it in just a second, but the fish had actually sucked the bait up through her gills, so the line was not going through the mouth. I actually called Lisa Thomas, the tournament director, and she informed me that I had to throw that fish back. And honestly, you know, I've talked to several guys about it. Some guys are like, well, I don't see how, because the hook point was inside the mouth. I mean, it was in the fish's throat. I mean, the fish, the bait and the hook was in the fish, inside the fish's mouth, but she sucked it up through her gills. And at the end of the day, I just didn't feel right about it. You know, my first thought was to ask my marshal, you know, and my marshal said he thought it would be a legal catch. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, man, it just didn't feel right to me. You know, I honestly didn't feel like that fish meant to eat that bait. I obviously did not on purposely snag that fish. But at the end of the day, I had to be able to sleep at night, and I did what Lisa said. I feel like I did the right thing. I threw the fish back. It cost me a top 10. It is what it is. Like I said, it was a freak thing, and I've since talked to Lisa about it, and they said they may clarify that rule to where it says that the line actually has to go and enter through the fish's mouth for future purposes, unless that ever does happen again. So let's roll some footage right now. Y'all check out some fish catches from the St. Johns River.
Yeah, they are. Hey, would you be interested in going one night this week? Absolutely. Okay.
Tell me, Tim, why do we fish here all day, every day?
Maybe because we're not using rubber worms.
Yeah.
What I use?
Didn't take long. Inside the mouth.
Yes, sir.
They're good. It's a nice one.
Yes, sir.
I got her. Oh my God. That's a giant. Oh no. No. I think I got her foul hooked. Thank you. Dude, I got her foul hooked. No, I don't. Dude, look at this. It's hooked in her throat, but it's through her gill. What do I do about that? How do you make that call? I mean, it's not in the mouth, so I mean, it is in the mouth.
Yeah.
But it's through the gill. Take a picture of that.
That's catching me, man. Okay.
I mean, what would you say? I mean, obviously the fish ate the bait.
Yeah.
But how? How did that happen? I mean, how? I mean, it's gonna come out the fish's gill.
Picture?
I gotta weigh that thing. 9-pounder.
Oh, yeah. That's what you called. First you said probably about 5, and then you said probably 8 or 9.
Hang on, I gotta call the tournament director real quick. I mean, I'm gonna stick her in here for a second. Hang on a second. I don't know if we're gonna get to keep her or not. Dude, that's so crazy. How could that happen? I mean, I'm trying to think of how it could get there in her throat. You know what I'm saying?
I went after it. That's weird.
I gotta call Lisa. I mean, that's just the only thing. That's all I can do.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Lisa. Hey, I had a quick question.
What's going on?
I had a quick question. I think I know the answer, but I just want to call and clarify. So I was fishing for a bass on a bed, right?
Okay.
I catch the fish. The fish is hooked, like the hook is in the fish's gullet, but it's going through the gills. It's not going in the mouth and into the gullet. It's through the gills. I mean, obviously the fish ate the bait somehow, but I'm trying to figure out like how the.
Right.
So
Right.
I was just wondering.
It has to be hooked inside the mouth.
So the line has to be going through the mouth.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Dang it. Well, Rules are rules. Gosh, bye, girl. God, I can't believe that. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed those fish catches. I want to go over real quick what I caught my fish on. Number one was just old school, just flipping and pitching around, and it was basically the same setup that I used with one little tweak to pitch at those beds over on the Kissimmee chain. That's the 5-inch Gambler Ace, June bug color, same exact setup, 3/0 Mustad Grit Pin Max flipping hook, anywhere from a 3/16 to a 5/16 ounce Mustad Titan-X tungsten weight. I pegged that weight, that way it all stays together. And here's the key. Here's something that I do sometimes and sometimes I don't do. But this is a little secret that I want you guys to take away from this. You see that little spinner that I put in the back of that 5-inch Gambler Ace? It just screws up in there. So what it is, it's just a little spinner. It's got a little screw lock on it, and it screws into the tail of that stick worm. Anytime fish are spawning, especially in the state of Florida, but I've caught them all over the place on it. Anytime fish are spawning, I like putting that in there. It gives it a little bit of flash when it's falling, and I've seen fish, they just react to it. And I really like that. So you guys try that out. I was throwing that on 24-pound Vicious Tora fluorocarbon. That's a new fluorocarbon from Vicious. It's a real high-end Japanese fluorocarbon. Really impressed with that stuff so far. It lasts really good, doesn't have a lot of stretch. It's real thin, but it's still super strong. So 24-pound line. My 7.6 heavy Mustad Instinct Brandon Lester Signature Series rod. These guys are actually hitting the market. They'll be on MidwayUSA coming real soon. So be sure and check that out. Definitely excited about that for sure. Definitely excited for you guys to finally get your hands on them. And also one more thing that I always have tied on when I'm in Florida, especially when they're spawning, is a wacky rig. I caught several on a wacky rig. That's a 6-inch Maxcent General, black and blue. I just like the way it falls when I'm fishing it weightless. I like the way it falls better than the Gambler Ace. Throwing it with a size number 2 Mustad Titan-X Wacky Nico hook, and that O-ring, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that's actually a Mustad O-ring, and it actually has a little saddle on the top of it so you can hook. It's got a little place for you to hook your hook through. So your hook sticks out perpendicular to the worm instead of running parallel to the worm. Pretty cool little deal there. 10-pound Vicious, high vis, no fade braid, yellow braid, and then 12-pound Vicious Pro Elite fluorocarbon leader. I just like to step up my leader a little bit because you're apt to catch a 10-pounder on the St. Johns River. I was throwing that on my 7'2" medium Mustad Instinct Brandon Lester Signature Series rod. Little bit longer rod. It helps whenever you're skipping, you get a little bit more distance out of that rod. But that was the setup on that 2500 size spinning reel. All in all, a good tournament to start the year. Ended up with a 28th place finish. So off to a good start, good AOY points. I hope you guys enjoyed this little recap. Check out a whole lot of this stuff right here. The hooks, the weights, the baits, the rods, a whole lot of this stuff and anything else you need for the outdoors, you can find at MidwayUSA.com. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you next time right here. Brandon Lester Fishing.